All right, well, Casey here. Today we're going to talk about fluid typography. Specifically, how can you set up some variables inside of your Webflow project to manage fluid typography? And if you're not familiar, fluid typography is basically what makes your typography responsive, so it scales smoothly from a minimum value all the way to a maximum value. And this is going to be based on the viewport's width. So we're going to look at that. We're going to look at a Webflow project, and I'm going to show you how to make these changes. And I'll also provide you with a resource so that you can just copy and paste the code into your own project to get this set up. So let's jump into the computer and check things out. All right, well, here we are in the computer. Let me show you what fluid typography does and why it is so valuable. You're going to have one typography setting, and it's just going to, you can watch this text, you can see that it's going to get smaller and smaller as we go through the viewports, and it's going to do that in a bit more of a fluid way. There's not going to be a whole lot of jumps. Now, it looks like there are some jumps here, and it's going to stop at 375. You see it stop scaling down, but then it's going to scale all the way up, and it's going to scale up slowly. You can kind of see it if I go real slow. You can see how it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger here. It is going to look like it's jumping a little bit since the lines are getting longer, and then you're going to see at a certain size it's going to quit scaling. So it's going to quit scaling at 1366 is where I have my maximum screen size set, and my minimum screen size is set at 375. And so you're going to notice that at this point it stops scaling down. All right, so how do we set this up? Well, one of the things that we are going to do is I'm going to have a couple of different folders. This is just how I like to do it. You don't have to do it this way, but if you want to be able to copy and paste the code that I'm going to give you, this is how you should do that. In my base folder, I'm going to have a screen size, and it's going to be a screen min and a screen max. And then over here, my typography, I'm going to have a font min and a font max, as well as I'm going to have this clamp. Now, just to give credit where credit is due, I did not write the code for this clamp. Timothy Ricks did, and I got this from his Lumos system. And I've just really extended that a lot by using the screen size, screen min, as well as by using these font min and font max on all of the different fonts. And so this is, something that is going to really help create that fluidness between, but then because rim is involved, this is also going to be accessible. So it's not just based on the screen width, it's also going to have some accessible features to it as well, so that if people will increase or decrease their font size, it will kind of scale based on that as well. So I have not set this up in a project, my own personal project, which is pretty bad, but I use this on every single client project that I do. And I've been doing this for over a year and just haven't taken the time to set this up. And so we're going to take the time to set this up today just so that you could see how this works. So the first thing that we need to make sure that we do is I have two different folders. I have a base folder and a typography folder. I do have this base folder set up, but we need to create a kind of like almost like a subfolder within base. So we're going to pop over here to this project. I'm going to go to my variables, and I have default here, which is fine. It doesn't have to be base. It could just be default. This really doesn't matter. The name is not going to be pulled over, but with typography, the name will be pulled over. So you want to make sure that you name that there correctly. So we're just going to go up here to this button that says new variable. We're going to click on that, and we are going to do a number variable. And we're going to say screen size dash. This is going to put it's kind of like make screen size a folder. And then inside of that, we're going to put screen dash min, right? So now we have our screen size. And then at this point, we don't have to click on new variable over here. All we have to simply do is click new variable when we have this one highlighted. And in this one, we're going to have to choose number again. Screen max. Now at this point, we need to set our screen min and max. If we don't, whenever we apply the fluid typography to our actual typography, it's not going to show at all. Now, what I like to do is I like to look at this, and I typically use 375 as my min. So if you think about a cell phone or your iPhone and you're looking at that, this really kind of covers the shorter end or the smaller end of that particular range. So I use 375, and I don't use this in pixels, but I use this in rem because remember, we want things to be able to scale. So how do you get that? Well, you do 375 divided by 16, and this number right here is 375 in rem. Now, we don't need to put rem. This is going to be handled by the function that we're going to use in a little bit, but we're just going to click this in. Now, for me, it really just depends on the design for the max screen size. For my own personal design, I'm using 1440 as kind of the frame inside of Figma. And then whenever we put our 64 and 64 gutters on there, I'm kind of down to 1366. But again, it really depends on what the max size is for your design. So you really want to go off of that. But mine is going to be 1366. So again, I'm going to do 1366 divided by 16, and that's going to give me 85.375. I'm going to paste this in there. Okay, now we have our screen size set up. So let's go back over to our other project and check out what we need to do. We need to create kind of a master folder, if you will. I'm not really sure what the actual nomenclature for this is, but we're going to create this master folder. And then again, just like we did for screen size, we're going to do the same for our different font sizes. And we'll just do H1 and H2 in this particular video. So this is what we're going to do. Let me click back on this. Let's go back over here. And in order to create this master folder, you're going to click on this button here, add a new variable collection. So I guess that's really what it's called, a variable collection. We're going to name our variable collection here typography. And you want to name it just like this. This is going to become important whenever we go to copy and paste the formula. Now inside of this, we need to create, there's a lot of different stuff here, but we're just going to focus on the font size. So let's go down to our H1 since this is the one that we're going to use. So we're going to create H1. And then we're going to do a number for H1 min, H1 max, and then we're going to do our size one, which is actually going to be size. So let's pop back over here. We're going to create a new variable. We are going to name this number, and we're going to say H1-H1 min. Then we're going to say another number, H1-max. Now we're going to create our size variable. Okay. Now in our min and our max, this is where we're going to have our min and max sizes. So if we come over here, we look at H1, you see it on desktop. I'm at 3.5 rem, so we can copy that number. And then if we go over here to our mobile view, I'm down at 2.5. So not a lot of change, but there is some change that's taking place here. So we'll go back to typography. For our min was 2.5. Remember, that's the mobile. And then this is going to be 3.5 for our max. Now we need to get our formula. We're going to come back over here. We're going to get this formula, this clamp formula. And if you put in everything in the way that I have using the exact same nomenclature, then you can just take this folder, copy it, or take this formula, copy it, go to your project, click on, this is where you need to click on the purple round with the cross in the middle of it. And we're going to get this, other dialogue that pops up. And at this point, it's not like super clear what you're supposed to do, but what with this blinking cursor is going to go into our search box. And all we need to do is say equals, and it's going to give us a custom value box. Maybe not the best setup from Webflow, but this is how we have to do it. At this point, we are just going to copy and paste that formula in. Now, you notice how everything is connected, so it makes it really, really nice. If we want to do the same for H2, let's go to variable. We're going to say number. We'll do H2-H2 min, and we're going to say number H2-max, and then we're going to say size. And at this point, what we need to do is we need to get our H2 min and our H2 max, which if you have a style guide set up, that should be fairly easy. 3 and 2. All right, so we'll go back over here. Our H2 min was 2. Our H2 max is 3. And now what we need to do is take this function, grab that, click on the purple circle, equals, copy that in. Now at this point, here's what you need to do. You need to change it to the min and the max. So everywhere it says H1 min, we want it to say H2 min. Wherever it says H1 max, we want it to say H2 max. So that's exactly what we're going to do. H2 min, H2 min, H2 max, H2 min. Skip the screen sizes. Those are already set up for us. This is the max. This is the min. And this is the max. All right. So we have all of that set up. Now what we need to do is go and connect this to our actual text. If you have a style guide, again, this is super easy to do. What I like to do is go to my tag. And here we're going to click on the purple again. Click on, should have a size that's right here, which is going to be for our H1. Now what we need to do, because you probably set this up on different breakpoints, is make sure, okay, we're not set up there, but here we are. So we can just get rid of that or reset it, and we're good to go. So if we look, we should be good to go for that one. Now on our H2, we want to do the same thing. All H1s. Okay. Reset that size. And here we are as well. Perfect. Now the next thing we want to do is, if you have a class-based system, you just want to make sure that this is connected as well. And what you can actually do here is just usually reset that, and it's going to go back. We'll reset that again. And it will just pull from the HTML element itself. All right. Now we have our fluid typography set up. Then we are going to preview this. And as you notice that it is just kind of scaling down nice and smooth for us. And it scales up. You can kind of see that there. A lot of times you can see a little better on the desktop version of it just scaling up, and then it just stops right about 1366. It doesn't scale any further. Again, you can go through and set this up on all of the other ones, your H3s all the way down to H6. You can even set this up on, you can even set this up like I have it set up for me on, I have my clamps here. I haven't done the min and max for these, but that's exactly what you would do. You would just create a variable and just say min max on those as well. And you can do that for your padding settings. So that makes it really nice. Your padding will scale, your typography will scale, and anything else that you think needs to scale in your system. And if you are like me and you have a lot of client projects that you're doing, it's super easy. Whenever I get a new project, all I do is I duplicate my starter file here, and then I look at the design. So, okay, what is the desktop, maximum? I punt that in over here underneath my base styles. Right here on screen max, what is the minimum going to be? I usually leave that at 375. And then I come over to typography and I just start updating these going down the line. I already have everything set up and everything is already connected whenever it comes to, the actual typography itself. So whatever I updated here will automatically get updated on my style guide, as well as the project as a whole, because I'm using this typography system for my entire project. And so that is how you do that. If you're not an agency and you're just doing this for your own project, well, think about in the future, if you want to do a redesign, well, you can just easily come in and change those numbers and you are ready to go. You don't have to fiddle with anything. You don't have to go and create clamp functions for each and every single one. It's all handled right there within your variables, and other people who come in to work on your project, so you hire a developer, they can easily see all the variables for your particular project that is here. Now, I've gone the extra step, and you can see that I've set up the line height and the weight and the font family and the text transform and the color, even for some of the headings. I do this primarily because I, use this as my starter file for all the projects that I do development for, and I'm developing, multiple projects every single month. And this just makes my setup that much faster. But then also when I hand this off to my client, I can tell them, hey, any changes that you need to make on the font size or the font weight or the line size or the font family, it can all be done right here in the variables panel, making it super easy for them. All right. If you got some value out of this video, remember to like it, share it with some other folks, and then let me know in the comments what else you want to hear. I will put the code that you can copy and paste or a link to this article that I'm going to be writing so that you can then take this code and copy and paste it into your own project.